Alright, this is not the ideal way to show this game. I really wish I had the video. I missed it by about 10 minutes in both directions. But Villalva said this was one of the best games he'd ever played, and I thought it would be fun to show Villalva facing off against Cookie, who of course just won SE Zidane. And Villalva started in 1. And I think if we look at Villalva's hand, we can see there's a card, or sorry, in 3. There's a card for 1, a card for 9, a card for 7, arguably 2 cards for 1, right? Now, he's made sure that both of the cards for 1 are dynamic cards with potential in different spots. And we actually talked a little about the hand before he ran it out. Um, I didn't add anything to the hand, I had no contribution here. I remember thinking there's a lot of 8s and 5s to the left, but I think 5s are really hard to punish on this rule set. I think it's really like there aren't many cards that are going to have an 8 and a 3. We can see there's one card with a 9 and a 4, but it just seemed to. And there's a card with a 7 and 2, but it seemed really unlikely that would get hit. So I think having the multiple 5s in the hand means you're not going to get punished for having all 8s to the left, but it was something that came to mind. Uh, and I like that both of the cards that are a repeat in a corner are cards that have a lot of potentially versatile play. If we think a little more about the hands, 8, 7, 6, 5s have been the pretty ubiquitous choice for level 8s, and they have clearly, everyone who has not gone with 8, 7, 6, 5s, virtually all have lost. Of course, people who picked 8, 7, 6, 5s have also lost, and I'm sure this will change as more games are played, but 8, 7, 5s have been the dominant choice on level 8. We can see Cookie going for 8, 7, 8s, which is an interesting alternative way to try to handle 9s while having more 3-directional power, but I think the general utility of 8, 7, 6, 5s is going to rule the day here. On level 9s, Cookie went for an 8, 5, 6, 8, which was a card I did not remotely consider. But the more I've been seeing games like this, the more 8, 7, 6, 5s are just seeming like the best cards in anyone's hand. With so many 9s and 8s on the table, they just have so much more plus wall and plus potential than anything else does. And 8, 5, 6, 8 is kind of the closest you can get to that on level 9. And it's weird to think you should use your level 9s to like get more of your level 8s. But I think this is actually a really interesting option here. And I didn't think of it myself, and seeing that card really appeals to something in me. I think I just prefer the 8, 7, 6, 5s, and it's not close enough, but it's pretty interesting. 9, 9 corners so far have not scored well in Triad Wars, partially because everything is so directed towards taking 9s. You can see in Cookie's hand, there's very clearly 2 types of cards. There's 9, 9 corners, and there's 8, 7s, right? So the intended starter may well be 4, 9, 9, 3, and 1, and the 8, 7s are ready to take it back. The 7, 6, 7, 6 can also take it back, and it can perform backup duty on the 9, 5, 5, 9. Villalva's cards, I think, are more multi purpose, but having one 9, 9 in your hand makes a bunch of sense to me. Because if the opponent is not set up to handle it, it could just be really powerful and you could win on the spot. I have definitely advocated in the past on rule sets where 9, 9 corners were available for just have 1 or 2 in your hand and you just have this option in case they happen to be badly set up against it. And if they're well set up against it, Cookie's 4, 9, 9, 3 could go in 9, and the 9, 5, 5, 9 could be a really nice recapture, right? There's gonna be utility to these half strong, half weak cards. And that's actually one advantage that half strong, half weak cards have over kind of general purpose cards or 3-directional cards is with the half strong, half weak cards, you really do just always have the option of, okay, throw that in a weak corner, I can deal with it, I can move on with the game. But yeah, I like Villalva starting. I've not been very focused on the game so far. I like this start. I like using this card from the hand. There's a nice recapture with 6, 8, 7, 5, and 1, and there's 2 recaptures from 6 with numbers options facing out that is going to be able to avoid being comboed back most of the time. Now we note here, Cookie's hand actually has pretty decent potential there. The 8, 5, 6, 8, and 6, if it lands there, can be comboed by 9, 5, 5, 9. and the 9945, if it lands there, can be comboed by 8287. However, Villalva can combo back the 9559, so it would make sense if he needs to recapture with 8568. So if we saw a continuation like this, you can't really go here because you get comboed back, but I think you could probably play. I mean, that walks into a combo in 5 as well. This might actually be a little tricky. Maybe this was a good reply. The solver is not particularly impressed. It thinks almost anything Villalva does is pretty safe here. But maybe this would have been an interesting way for Cookie to play. Yeah, seems reasonable to me. Just an idea. Cookie goes for a big setup in 5. He says, okay, my 4993 can go in 6, my 7676 can go in 2, my 8287 can also go in 6. I am maximizing synergy with myself and have a lot of play against your card. And at this point, Villalva realized he had a really nice chance here because he has last turn and he has one card for both squares. Now, one of those interesting things about Triple Triad is if you have second to last turn, you can hold on to 2 cards for your last move. So Cookie could have 7676 and 4993 at the end in his hand. If he can only pick one, actually 7676 is both squares. Total idiot. Didn't realize he had one card for both squares. All right, we're we're working on this. 7676 is both squares, but even if he didn't have both squares on the same card, that's usually okay on second turn. It can be tricky because it can mean you're trying to hold on to 2 cards, and that limits your options, but it's possible. On the other hand, first turn, if those squares are left open for the end, is really going to need to have something good for both, and 6875 has both. So now the goal is to keep those squares open and maximize other squares with threat as much as possible so that those squares need to be blocked, so that those squares are the problem. And Villalva finds the really nice move 7, 5, 9, 8, and 7. We notice he's gotten rid of both of his cards for the same corner to start the game, which I think is kind of a nice way to start it. But also 6, 8, 7, 5 now has combos in every square. 2, 4, 6, 8, every side square. And if he has to use it, 8, 5, 6, 8 is a pretty good backup. It has no combo in 8, but it does have the double capture. It is the combo in both 2 and 4, and it has a capture in 6. 6 is its worst square, but it still has play everywhere. So he has one card that's a bomb everywhere, and one card that has really nice play everywhere. And now Cookie correctly identifies I need to start getting rid of those side squares as fast as I can. There are a couple ties here. They are hard to find. They are in some of the side squares. But I think in practice, this position is just basically going to be lost because there are too many threats to handle. But what's cool about this position is Villalva handles having combo potential really nicely. I've talked about kind of having this sense for combo that I think a few players have. And Villalva is very much one of them that has a really nice sense around combo. I didn't watch this game, but Ray, who did watch it, said he thought it was, or no, sorry, was it Turds? It was Turds. Turds said he thought it was really cool how quickly Villalva made the next move, understanding that he didn't have to do anything, he just had to keep the combos all alive. So Cookie blocks 2. 2 is safe. He gets rid of one of the 2, 4, 6, and 8 squares. He needs to get rid of as many of them as he can. He keeps 7, 6, 7, 6 in his hand, which is his best card for 4, 6, and 8. So this move makes a ton of sense, right? He doesn't really care that much about flipping 3. Villalva can flip 3 back if he wants to very easily. Instead, what he's doing is he is getting rid of a square he's going to die on and making sure he has something safe. Though, how safe is it when it is weak to combos from 5? But there wasn't really a way to grab safety without being weak to 5. Something like this is weak to 5 and to 3. right? It's safe in itself, but it's weak given combo is on the board. Something like this, that's not safe. Something like this, again, not safe. So there's not really a way to have a big number facing out. I think 7-6, 7-6, and 4 comes to mind as a move that actually is safe. But it does have the downside that you've given up your card that has combos in 2, 6, and 8, which feels very dangerous to do. I will say that is in fact one of the ties. But you can see why it feels very dangerous. Cookie goes in 2, and Villalva responds almost immediately from what my sources told me. There are 2 winning moves here, and they are virtually the same idea. So we will cover the other one after we've seen how this one plays out. Villalva instantly goes in 1. Doesn't need to take 2. 2 is weak to 5. Villalva has this sense for combo. Is not going to need to flip anything immediately. And now still has 4, 6, and 8. And there is no way second turn can block all 3 because they only have 2 turns left. Cookie blocks one of them. No, Cookie can't really capture it because anything he captures with is going to be weak to 5. And Villalva's going to play here and combo through everything on the final turn. There's no way to, like, if you want to go in 4, you have to go safe to 5. And, I mean, you're still losing to this, right? Just too much is flipping. If you could flip 9, you wouldn't be, but you cannot. And indeed, I've sort of given away what the idea is, but Cookie makes the trickier move, 4993, with the point that something like this can be comboed back and Cookie wins. But Villalva correctly goes in 9, leaving open 2 squares. And so his move in 1, the core idea is, I will not block a side square. You have to do all the blocking of the side squares, because when I combo in 1 for my last turn, I'm going to win. The next move is 8, 5, 6, 8, and 9. I think no matter what happens, unless Cookie goes in 9, in which case, of course, Villalva is left with 2 side squares again, and will win. So the whole point here is you do not block a side square, you keep the combo alive. The longer it lives into the game, the more powerful it is. So at this point, it shouldn't surprise us at all what the other winning move is here. It's this, keeping the side squares alive again. And the follow-up to this is 9, 9, 4, 5, and 1, which he played first. I like his move order more. I think the point that they can't really go in 4, the setup in 9 after feels more natural to me than the setup to start in 9. So I like Villalva's move order here. But I really like either way the sense of when you have this powerful combo through 5, you do not flip 5 until the end. Right? You have last turn, you're the one who's going to get access to 5, you have combos everywhere. And second of all, you're just not going to occupy the squares you have combos in. You know, if you combo, they have a chance to combo back, and they can choose when to do so. Once you've done the combo, they have control over when and how things flip back. Instead, Villalva made sure it never flipped back, and that he was never touching anything, and that more weak stuff would appear around 5. And more weak stuff did appear, and I forget actually what the last move of the game was, or the second to last move. He went 8 and loses 7-3. But I think this is just really elegantly handled combo, and I love playing this move quickly, because it just fully understands how much potential there is. And I'm sure this move was played quickly as well, because it so naturally follows from what Villalva has achieved here. Really nice game, and really shows the power of just having every square in the slash. And you can see that Cookie, once he got into this position, did know what had to be done. You have to get rid of the side squares. So he immediately tries to get rid of a side square, and not only does he get rid of a side square, he's trying to say, okay, set up the Q or the Z, and you will block another side square for me, or the S, I guess. But Villalva does not comply. Villalva is not going to block any of his side squares. He's going to leave the combo potential alive as long as he can. Wins a really nice game. Again, I'm sorry I don't have better graphics. Actually, now that I mention it, I do have I have 2 versions of the solver program, and one of them looks a little nicer, and Villalva mentioned, oh, that's looking better than it usually looks, and I used the uglier one for this, which is really bad given that they explicitly liked the other one more. Yeah. So okay, there you have it. Um, that's Villalva's win over Cookie. One of the more fun games of Triad Wars so far, if not the most fun. It won't be like my pick for best match at the tournament or anything because it was only one game, but a really fun game. This is the kind of game that's really enjoyable to get to play, and I would be pretty hyped if I had won it. I'd be like, wow, I'm so good at this game. I know all the combos.